Let's call the special meeting to order. If you would please, if you're able to stand, the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The preamble to the Missouri Constitution. We, the people of Missouri, with profound reverence for the supreme ruler of the universe and grateful for his goodness, do establish this Constitution for the better government of the state. If you would join me in prayer. But we just stop. We stop to seek and to praise you and to thank you for the blessings that we all enjoy. We thank you for being able to assemble together. We thank you for being able to have the freedom that we have. We ask you to be with us today as we seek to discern and seek your wisdom for decisions for this community. In Christ's holy name we pray. Amen. Thank you. The meeting's a little different because we postponed from another meeting, so we'll begin where we take up where we took off from. And so at this point in time, I would like a roll call of the aldermen who are here.
McConnell, Vitus.
Here.
Simmons.
Here.
Akers.
Here.
Gaines.
Here.
Milton.
Here.
C.
Here.
Your Honor, you have a quorum.
All right. We have another meeting this evening. This meeting will have some limits on it. We can't go past 5 o'clock. We have a 6 o'clock meeting we have to prepare for. So we'll go into our meeting. First, we'll begin with the reading of item 1. Madam Clerk, please.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 5837, an ordinance amending Chapter 58 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to face coverings, public spaces, and the spread of communicable diseases. This item was postponed during its first reading at the July 16, 2020 Special Board of Aldermen meeting. It has a motion and a second on the floor to call for the vote on Bill number 5837 as amended and is currently in need of a vote on that motion.
Thank you.
I have a point of order, please. I'm not sure what the procedure is. I know I saw a message from Chris earlier that said when we ended the last meeting and I put up a motion to vote and it was seconded, Chris made the comment that at that time an alderman should have or could have asked for a point of order for clarification. And I was hopeful that Chris could, before we start this, if Chris could explain the parliamentary procedure of how we went from a motion and second onto a postponement.
I'll explain briefly, Alderman. You raised the comment point of order. The reason we went on is because no alderman at that time made a point of order to seek clarification as to the rulings on the floor. So as a result, this meeting, that vote got postponed. All 5 that were present voted in favor, none against. So that's how we ended up here today.
Well, I understand that's how we ended up here. The question was, when there was a motion and a second, what was the parliamentary procedure to proceed to a postponement?
I guess I don't understand the question, Alderman. If you could rephrase that for me.
At the end of the last meeting, I made a motion and it was seconded. And then after some discussion or time on your side to see what the procedure was, then you came back and ruled that the postponement amendment superseded the motion to approve.
And the question is?
Why did we go from, what authorization did we have to go from a motion on the floor to a postponement?
Again, I don't mean to cause you any disrespect, Alderman, I still don't understand the question. Okay, you have main motions.
Please.
You have secondary motions. If there was an issue at the time that this occurred, and let's say, for example, you were disagreeable with what happened at the last meeting, your course of action under Robert's rules would be called for a point of order. Then it would have gone to the presiding officer. The presiding officer could then ask for a ruling or decide a ruling on that matter. So let's talk about two scenarios. If the procedure was wrong, the corrective action was a point of order. Okay, the corrective action did not occur. Instead, you guys went to a vote, and you voted 5-0 to postpone. So the vote was postponed until today. So again, I go back to where are we at right now? We are at basically a vote, to put it in most basic terms.
Okay, then let me try asking it another way. When I made the motion and it was seconded, we took a 5-minute break so you could research what the proper procedure was when there was a motion to postpone following the motion to vote.
Okay?
With the city attorney taking your time, coming back and giving us your legal opinion that the postponement overrides the motion to vote. I'm just asking for clarity of where in parliamentary procedure does it state that?
Let's just say, let's just call it what it is. Let's say for purposes of today, I made a mistake in the meeting last time, and they were both, the motion to call for the vote should have gone first over the motion to postpone, okay? I made a mistake, okay? If I had made a mistake, then the course of action for you as an alderman would be to call for a point of order. That never occurred, and then proceeded to vote 5-0 to postpone. So again, that's the remedy to fix a mistake, okay? We were doing on-the-fly research after an 8-hour meeting where the public was very vested in the public that showed up and giving their comments. We provided research at your request. Whether or not that research is correct or not, the remedy, if the decision as an alderman, you have the same access to Robert rules that everybody else does, is that it was wrong, then you should have called for a point of order.
Okay, so is that hypothetical that if you made a mistake, or was it a mistake?
After research, I believe a mistake had been made. I will own that.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Mayor.
Basically, what Chris said, we're voting to vote. So at this point in time, I ask for the alderman. We've had the previous discussion. We've called for the vote now, and I'm asking you all to please vote.
We're going to push the buttons now, huh?
The vote is 4 yes, 1 no. Larry Melton, no. Jamie Whitish, yes. Jeff Say, yes. Bill Skanes, yes. Bob Simmons, yes. All right?
Mayor, for clarity, that vote we just took was on the amendment that we had at the end of last meeting.
No, that was allows from the postponement to re-vote now. We're ready to vote now, and we'll have that.
That was just to give you all permission to vote on the actual.
The result of the vote was given. Madam Clerk, would you provide the introduction for the item?
Your Honor, at this time, we have had a vote to call for the vote. So now we're calling for the vote on the first reading as amended of the bill 5837.
All right. Please vote on the motion to call for a vote on Bill 5837 as amended.
Mayor, I have 4 responses at this time. There we go.
Yes, 4, no, 1. Larry Milton, no. Jamie Whitish, yes. Jeff Say, yes. Bill Skane, yes. Bob Simmons, yes.
Your Honor, for clarity, we have now passed the first reading of Bill number 5837 with the amendments from the last meeting included. So you're done and completed a first reading and passage.
Okay. Is there an alderman who wishes to call for a second reading?
Your Honor, I move to read Bill 5837 for its final reading due to public health and safety concerns surrounding COVID-19.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Wait a second. Multiple seconds. All right. At this point in time,
I have a second from Alderman C. Is that correct?
Okay.
Thank you.
at this point in time, we can take public discussion. The guidelines are, we spent a lot of time, as you all recall, the last time, and we went through a lot of different information. We would ask that anyone who wants to speak needs to stay on topic. This is to talk specifically about the motion with the amendments.
Your Honor, at this time, we are just on the motion to ask for a final reading to move forward.
That's right.
And
Thank
that's
you.
the only discussion that would be is if we want to put this on the floor for the final reading. It is not on the floor at this time for a final
Okay.
reading.
Thank you. You correct me. Thank you. All right. We've had a second, motion 5837, and this is just to vote to bring it to a second reading, correct?
For the final reading, yes, Your Honor.
All right. Then I would ask for a vote to bring it to a second reading from the Alderman. Yes, 4, no, 1. Larry Milton, no. Jamie Whitish, yes. Jeff Say, yes. Bill Skanes, yes. And Bob Simmons, yes. All right. All right. We've had a motion and a second for the second reading. We're now ready to go into the second reading. I need a motion to...
Your Honor, let me put that on the floor,
Okay.
please. Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill number 5837, an ordinance amending Chapter 58 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to face coverings, public spaces, and the spread of communicable diseases.
We have a staff report from Chris Lebeck.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. It's given the density of the crowd down here, I'm going to provide this from up here, if that's okay with the mayor. Couple things that I want to bring to the board's attention. We've had a lot of feedback since this bill had been postponed. I think the first and probably most important thing as a part of the staff report to provide the board is an update from Mr. Mahoney, if he is here in the gallery right now. Mr. Mahoney, if you could, I don't know how you want to do this, sir. It's up to you.
By the way, if you can, try to stay as far apart as possible. The 6-foot distancing is recommended, obviously. And there are some folks who are not wearing masks. They came and approached us because of medical reasons not to wear the mask, and we honored their word. So if that's what if you see people without masks, that's the reason.
I'm going to take this off so you can
Yes,
hear
to
me.
speak, that's
okay. Okay. William Mahoney, President of Cox Medical Center, Branson. Mayor Akers, Alderman, thank you for allowing me to come back. We're here the 16th. I guess we're about 2 weeks later. I'm here to update you on what's going on with COVID-19. We're about double the cases we were last time we spoke. I think we were in the 150s, and now we're at 304. I'm here to ask you to vote yes on a masking ordinance, and we view this as a public health and safety issue. Now, the other day I had a colleague, a business owner here in town, send an email that I was addressed to with a couple other folks. And here's what he said. As far as encouraging people to wear a mask or it being patriotic, Taney County statistics indicate counting on people to do the right thing is not getting it. On June 22nd, Taney County had 33 reported COVID-19 cases per our health department website. And then we show Taney County had 205 cases on July 22nd. Looks like we had an increase of 28 cases in a one-day period. Looks like we have gone up from 205 cases on July 22nd to 304 today. That is 62 cases in 5 days, or an average of 12 per day. The elected officials of this county and the various municipalities within it have the obligation to protect its citizens. Elected officials, you are also being short-sighted if you think you are not going to wreak additional economic hardship on our county and its citizens. That was from a business owner here. I want to tell you a few quick stories of what's going on in this state as far as COVID. The Great Clips experience. There were 2 hairstylists who were wearing masks, were asymptomatic, cutting 136 people's hair, and they had 9 coworkers. And then when they came up to see that they did positively test for COVID. None of the people that they cut hair on, they were 3 to 4 feet away from, or their coworkers came up with COVID-19. We believe that's because of masking. Columbia, Missouri. Columbia's mask ordinance, this is the headliner. Columbia's mask ordinance is having a positive impact. In early July, I guess it was the last week of June, Columbia, Missouri had rates of 16% positive case rate, about where we're at right now. We're 15.5, 16. They passed the masking mandate. A week later, they went down in the 6 range. Another week later, where they're at today is about 7%. Their health educator, Ashton Day, says if you look in this time frame, nothing else has changed besides the masking ordinance. In our own experience at Cox Medical Center Branson, is we had 5 employees in April get COVID. We then went to mandated masking. We have not had another employee get COVID from hospital acquired. Now, I want to give you a few updates on the testing in the area. The mobile testing unit 6 weeks ago is on Cahill Road, was 2 to 3 people a day coming in for test. We consistently, over the last 3 weeks, are seeing 40 to 50 patients a day. We have workers dressed up. It's extremely hot out there, going out there, and those are open 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. We currently have 14 doses of remdesivir. We did have 24 courses a week ago. We don't know when we will get that. It just comes in sporadically. Here's one that's kind of alarming to me. 35.7% of COVID patients hospitalized at Cox South are from Taney County. Taney County is only 8.77% of the population of the Springfield region. We have 10 at Cox South. Greene County has 5. Okay, and obviously they're a lot larger. Our prevalence of disease is 454 per 100,000. That's equal to about Puerto Rico. It's 66.3% higher than Greene County, who has a prevalence rate of disease of 301 per 100,000. Limited capacity for testing at our lab, and we know that our current rate of climb, we will not be able to sustain because we will exceed our lab's capacity to test. Right now, tests are coming back in about 25, 26 hours. More and more cases, that will keep climbing higher and higher, and negative things happen from that. We are seeing increase of positives. May 27th, we had about 3%. June 27th, we were about 2.24%, and now we are consistently at 15% or above positive rates. COVID patients are taxing our emergency room, stretching our capacity for negative pressure rooms. One thing our nurses have reported to us consistently is that tourists who are in the hospital and patients are saying, why don't you guys have a masking ordinance? Where we come from, everybody wears a mask. This is shocking to them that we don't have a mask.
Please, but we're here to listen.
Because of HIPAA, I can't tell you who they are.
Okay.
Our local public health department is overwhelmed, so contact tracing and quarantine, which is the best option, is no longer feasible to contain the spread. So we have 0 other options besides human behavior modification. There is no other option. Hospital is filling, testing is scarce, treatments are limited, vaccine is not in sight. This is according to our infectious disease doctor, Dr. Robin Troutman. At current pace, patients from Branson will have access to our limited treatments. Healthcare workers may not have enough PPE this winter, and testing options could become scarce. This is 100% predictable occurrence at the current rate, and the only intervention, again, is human behavior modification, consisting of 2 interventions. We rely heavily on the health department's ability to test, identify cases, isolate, trace, and quarantine. This is our first best line of defense. Honestly, they're overwhelmed, and Ms. Marshall can talk about that herself. The only thing we have left is human behavior, physical distancing, and correct and consistent use of facial coverings when appropriate. Physical distancing. It's probably not a good option here in an entertainment-rich district. People just gather. It's just what they do in Branson. The second one, correct and consistent facial coverings when appropriate. The data are clear. The risks are knowledgeable. The myths of danger from masks are false and born out of conspiracy theory. There is no other option to control spread. I wish there were. Nothing will slow this down, and Branson residents will suffer, and so will local businesses. Looking ahead, in 4 weeks, roughly, we're going to start seeing kids go back to school, and they're going to be masking. Okay, we have a higher chance with group setting of things increasing. In 8 weeks, the weather will begin to change, and we'll change from an outdoor environment more to an indoor environment, which again will give us a higher chance for the spread of COVID-19. Now is the time to act. U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, better known as the CDC, Director Robert Redfield said on July 14th that if all Americans wore a mask, the rising cases of COVID-19 could be under control within 4 to 8 weeks. I ask that we become the community that acts before it's too late. Please pass a masking ordinance for our community. Help us to disrupt the trajectory of this disease through the simple act of masking. I know we can do this. Columbia, Missouri dropped theirs in half, and we're Branson. We're used to overcoming obstacles, relying on our faith. Let's mask up and watch our rates drop in half. We can be the positive story out there, the beacon on the hill. Let's put ourselves in a position to once again show why we are the safe place for wholesome recreation and rejuvenating entertainment. People need what we have. Thank you for your time, your service to our community, and I ask this sincerely, that God bless us all in these trying times. There's a lot of things going on, and I know we're better than that we can't work together to try to help each other. Thank you. Excuse me. Do you have any questions?
Larry?
Hi, Dr. Mahoney. Thank you for coming in. I've heard this a couple times, that there's been some experts that have said that if we buckle down and put on masks for 4 to 8 weeks, we can just crush this COVID issue. Several months ago, when we decided to shut down the businesses and go to essential businesses only, I believe we were shut down for 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. And I think at that time, we were thinking that if we went to those extreme measures, that we would be able to curb this COVID issue. What would you share the rationale between when we shut down for 6 to 8 weeks, we weren't able to control it, and now if we mask up for 4 to 8 weeks, we can abolish this?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Milton. As we've looked at this, as everyone knows, when we started seeing this in February and March, we kind of went in segments, what everyone has thought. I don't know the exact date you're talking about, so I'm going to guess. If I'm wrong, please adjust me. I believe you passed an ordinance in early May till about 12th or 13th of June.
March.
Okay. Our prevalence rate, I was trying to coordinate it to our rates. As I said earlier here, we were at 2.99% in May and 2.34% in, I can look it up here, it was June 12th, I believe is the date. And so we didn't see this spike until about 4 to 5 weeks ago. So you're making our point, thank you. What we did before did help because we didn't see the rise. We also didn't have, to be fair, as many tourists coming in at that time as we have over this summer.
Any other questions? Mr. Mahoney, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
You wouldn't mind to wipe down the
Yes, sir.
thing with you? Appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, to continue with the staff report.
I'm sorry?
To continue with the staff report.
Sure.
As I alluded to before, we got an update from Mr. Mahoney. The city received innumerable amounts of feedback on both sides of this ordinance, this proposed ordinance. From that, staff is recommending a couple amendments to the bill before the board. And I have it pulled up here. And Chad's going to drive for me. If we can scroll down, Mr. Foster. The first amendment is on line 105. This is reflected in this revised staff report. And that is dropping the language consuming food, drink, or smoking. This is primarily in feedback from religious services, our theaters, and other kind of entertainment venues. Because the belief here, again, there's two things at work. You got social distancing, which is maintaining a physical distance of 6 feet or more and wearing a face covering. So if you're seated and you're maintaining a physical distance, the venue is configured, the religious service is configured, the theater is configured in such a way that people can do that. They're seated, they're not moving around, then they can remove the face covering. Because otherwise, if we leave this as is, what's going to end up happening, we're going to start buying and eating popcorn and doing things so that we can remove the mask. So again, trying to keep respect towards that social distancing idea, which has been a theme that our health department and Ms. Marshall have championed since the outset of this thing. And if we scroll down, so that's the first amendment that staff is recommending on this bill. The second amendment, and recall we already had 4 amendments put in here prior to vote on the first read, is as far as timing is concerned. You will see on line 180 that we are changing the effective date of this ordinance to July 31st, 2020, okay? Why not immediately? Why not extend it out? I think we heard from Mr. Mahoney that time is of the essence here, but we also have to be respectful of our businesses, of our community, and give them times to get appropriate signage out and make preparations. And then the city also wants to take upon the burden of providing some additional information. As you heard from Chief Matthews at the last meeting, education is key in this because that's the rub. If we can educate the public, we can educate our visitors, then we can get through this next few weeks. And then finally, the end date. You will notice that we're asking for an amendment to September 8th of 2020. That's a little bit over 30 days. Why did we pick September 8th, 2020? Because that's the first regularly scheduled board meeting in September. That gives this board the opportunity to extend this or repeal it on that date. It'll die on that date if the board chooses not to extend it. If you recall, the previous permutation of this bill had vested the authority to extend this to the city administrator and also the emergency director, Chief Ted Martin. We've removed that language instead, dropping that end date, the proposed amendment on September 8th, 2020, so that this board, if they so decide, can have that opportunity to do so. So again, based on the feedback, these are the amendments that staff is recommending to the board for consideration with this bill. Thank you, Mayor.
That ends your staff report?
Yes, sir.
All right. You've heard the final reading of Bill number 5837. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Motion and a second. We have staff recommended amendments. Does anyone want to make a motion for the amendments at this time?
Your Honor, I move to amend Bill number 5837 as follows, with the line 105 by removing consuming food, drink, and smoking, line 180 by changing the dates July 20th, 2020 to July 31st, 2020, and then line 182 by changing August 20th, 2020 to September 8th, 2020.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Now, at this point in time is for public comment. Here are the guidelines. We ask that there be no more than 3 minutes. If you are in agreement with someone, you can come up and say, I agree with so-and-so, and it doesn't take 3 minutes. We're going to cap this at 30 minutes. This particular segment is for residents who live within the city limits of Branson or property taxpayers in the city limits of Branson. That's the caveats.
Your Honor, may I add a clarification? We are on the amendments at this time only. That's the motion on the floor are for the amendments.
We're discussing the amendments, yes. That's all for. Thank you. So the discussion is entirely, as I was saying earlier, trying to jump in too quickly. I apologize. But we are only discussing the amendments that are presented to us. And the other criteria you've heard. So at this point in time, we can follow the procedure. You need to identify yourself, where you live, and share with us no more than 3 minutes. Just the amendments here. We approved it with the amendments earlier.
Excuse
Is that
me.
correct?
Don't start the clock yet.
No, we will.
Okay, thank you.
Clarification. We're voting just on these 3 amendments that are recommended,
So,
correct?
yes. So what is up on their screen in black already includes the amendments that were made on the 16th, because that was passed already. So what we're discussing are there's 3 sections. There's one, and then there's 2, the dates. That's what we're discussing right now are just what's in green.
Right.
It's only if you want to pass the green amendments. That's the discussion on the floor right now. That's the motion.
There are 3 of them, right?
Yes.
105.
Including the date, the beginning date and ending date.
Yeah.
Mayor, for clarity,
Yes.
I'm assuming that we're going to also have discussion of maybe making some other amendments?
There's a point in the
Okay.
guide that you received last Thursday, I believe.
Okay.
Explaining the procedure. It looks like I was a little out of order on the getting people up, and I apologize to them for that. But yes, we will have a time for other amendments.
And for clarity, if somebody works at a Branson business but doesn't live in Branson, you're saying we don't want to hear from them?
We ask for people who are residents of the city limits of Branson, property taxpayer in the city limits of Branson. Yep. All right. First speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Brian Seitz. I live at 1805 Miller Drive here in Branson. I'm a candidate for state representative here in the 156th district. We are here once again to make sure a grave mistake is not made. 12 days ago, we gathered and overwhelmingly asked you to vote against mandated masks for the city of Branson. We are here with the same request now. Over the past 2 weeks, I've spoken to over 100 business owners and close to 1,000 residents, asking them their thoughts on the issue before you. The sentiment is clear: no to a government mask mandate. As I stated 12 days ago, we are not anti-mask. We are anti-mandate. We are against this becoming like a police state. And what I saw prior to this meeting, with the police questioning citizens will bring a divide between us and an otherwise excellent police force. We are against a mandate that will force more businesses to close. We are against destroying our tourist town by restricting our liberty. The decision to wear a mask or any other form of personal protection should be an individual one. This personal decision should not be coerced, nor citizens, visitors, and businesses threatened with fines and closures. We shouldn't even be here. As all of you know, this was ready to be voted down 2 weeks ago. It was a bad recommendation then, and it's no better today. Recently, the governor was here in Branson and said no to a mask mandate. I spoke with gubernatorial candidate Sandra McDowell yesterday, and she said no to a mask mandate. God made us free, and you were elected to ensure and protect that freedom. Not stifle and restrict it. Alderman Simmons, I ask that you respect your wife's personal decision and vote no on this mask mandate. Alderman Whitus, I ask that you remember the veteran I spoke of 12 days ago who was turned away from stores at Tanger because he couldn't wear a mask, and vote no on this mandate. Alderman Skanes, you and I have had disagreements in the past.
Never.
But I know you to be a reasonable and educated man. The public needs you now to vote no. Alderman C.
15 seconds.
Alderman C., 12 days ago, you wished to hear from businesses before making a decision. I spoke to almost every downtown business, and all but 2 wanted to vote no on this mandate. Mr. Mayor, I talked to you on Saturday night. You said you're wearing a mask for comfort. I'll hurry. Gentlemen.
You're out of time, Mr. Seitz.
Gentlemen, your power is derived from... I was interrupted numerous times, so I should at least be able to finish the sentence.
I'm sorry, you're out of time, sir. You're out of time.
All right, I have to wipe off the microphone. Gentlemen, your power is derived from the consent of the governed. Listen to the voices of the people. We, the people, do not consent to a mask mandate, and we will not submit. We will be free.
Remind them to stay on subject. We're on the amendments.
Again, we're having a discussion on the amendments, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Pearl Haining. I do live in Branson, and I ask, please, that the audience remain quiet because time is limited. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, and Alderman, because time is limited, I do want to be as concise as possible. For that reason, there are many things that I won't mention, such as the fact that the many Arkansas police departments will not be enforcing their state mandate because they think it is unenforceable, or the fact that Springfield has received over 1,000 calls a week about their mask enforcement, severely hindering their police force since that passed. I also won't mention the fact that Springfield is now facing a lawsuit because of that. Quiet, please. You guys have heard a lot about this bill, about the amendments at hand. You've also heard a lot about statements from the CDC, which have been reversed time and again until they've become an embarrassment to the entire medical community. Many people have talked about how the CDC director talked about how if we put masks on, we could squelch this virus in 4 to 8 weeks. But the same day that he said that, he also said that suicide and drugs pose a much greater risk. He also said that same day that influenza is 5 to 10 times more deadly than COVID-19. But why is this the public health crisis of choice? Thank you for suggesting to remove the clause about eating or drinking or smoking, because frankly I found that quite ironic that we were only permitted to take our masks off when consuming choking hazards. However, I do find it ironic that you are now now suggesting that this virus only is contagious when you are walking past someone in a restaurant. You need to spend several minutes in front of someone, face to face, literally spitting on them, in order for that kind of contagion to spread. That is ridiculous. People have talked about compassion, that we should love like Jesus. But friends, and I consider you friends, we are peers in this room. Jesus loved the unlovable, spent time with the outcasts of society, and even touched those regarding having the most contagious of health problems. And we should not turn those people away from our doors or our city, because that is not anything in keeping with the faith and family values that Branson claims to champion.
You're out of time. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Joshua Heston. I am co-founder of the Branson Liberty Initiative and editor-in-chief of State of the Ozarks. My address is 312 Wilshire, Branson, Missouri. The health of our community is at stake. Not from a virus whose mortality rate is a fraction of what was once presented, but from the hostility building within our communities and fueled by continued attempts to socially re-engineer us. Our community is made up of adults, not children, and it is not the government or the medical industry's job to be a parent. That's right. Daily Mail reported on July 24th that Walmart, Home Depot, Walgreens, and CVS will now serve customers who do not wear masks in order to avoid violence. This is the reality of human behavior. We have been a peaceful people, but our community has been through enough. Further government attempts to quote-unquote parent emancipated citizens can only end badly. The nation is watching today, and the mask mandate is unenforceable. And how have Americans historically responded to government overreach and bad decisions? The American Revolution was a crime punishable by death until we won the war. The act of freeing slaves was against the law, according to the Dred Scott decision, clearly not our Supreme Court's best moment. And the opposition that fought down segregation was championed by true American patriots who faced down government as well as mobs of rabid attackers who would rather throw bricks and bomb houses than face arguments. Today, we are sitting on a powder keg, a silent majority who love our nation, love our state, and love our community. These are citizens who love the brave men and women who protect and serve. Police officers who deserve to be honored and respected, not forced into becoming a face diaper patrol. The real cost of this government overreach is dramatic spikes of anxiety, depression, domestic abuse, suicide, and hunger. These costs are forced on our people by those who will not be at risk. These policies are inconsistent, classist, and arrogant. I have worked with the grassroots of our community for 13 years. You must re-earn our people's trust, otherwise there will not be compliance. Your first step is to vote no on this mandate. Thank you.
That's going to be the cleanest microphone in town. Yeah.
You know? Better safe than sorry, you know?
Yeah.
good with that round. All right. Can y'all hear me okay? Yeah. Rock on. Okay. All right. Sweet, sweet. Okay. My name is Audrey Richards. I live at Buzz Street in Branson, sort of like a quarter mile outside the city limits, but you know we ain't gotta be that technical about it.
I'm sorry.
Oh, nothing. I was just making a comment. I live on Buzz Street here in Branson. So, yeah, I've spoken in front of y'all, a lot before. You guys know that I always come up here with a prepared speech or prepared questions. After last week, I don't have like a good enough reaction to what I saw last week because I agree with Mr. Heston. The nation is watching and this is an embarrassment. I am embarrassed and I am ashamed. I had my friends from other parts of this country telling me, wait a minute, Audrey, you live here? You live with these people? Like, this is the way that you guys think. This is the way that you grew up, because these are not the values that I represent and that I claim to have grown up with. We talk about compassion, we talk about, caring about the lives of other people. And yet all I hear whenever I watch these things back is freedom, freedom, like my freedom to endanger your life is more important than anything else. Hey, you guys will get up here and crow about your First Amendment rights. You will listen to me speak. Thank you. I will also say that I do not support this ordinance as written. I'm sure that will surprise some of you, because there are so many exceptions that it is ineffective. Do you think the coronavirus cares whether you are at a wedding or a funeral? Because it does not. One Google search will tell you 11 people caught coronavirus at a funeral in Alabama and 5 died. 6 deaths related to a funeral in South Carolina, 24 deaths related to a funeral in Georgia. I try to be positive and maintain a solidly good outlook on the city that I have loved for 27 years. And you know what? I'm sorry that I'm so frustrated and I am so angry, but this measure is a halfway. It pleases no one. To me, it says that this tells visitors basically that we want to protect you, but only halfway. We care about you halfway. It divides the public without actually accomplishing anything. You have got to take some sort of a stand and say, we do care and you have to wear masks, or we don't want you to wear masks. There is no halfway here. The coronavirus is not halfway. Whether it is doctors or the CDC or the media or government, people against this mandate are looking for villains where there are none. The only enemy is coronavirus, and we have to treat it as such. And we only have one defense against it, and it is social distancing, and we have a slightly less effective one in masks, because it's like, this is what we have. This is what we have to go on. And I know that, I'm running for Congress and whatever, and this is going to lose me a crap ton of votes. I am well aware of that, but I care more about the people here and protecting them than getting elected.
You have 10 seconds.
So, in conclusion, I would just suggest making this a piece of legislation that actually fixes the problem. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Cool. My name is Joshua Pope. I live on Nyhart. I've spoken up here a few times before. I can't believe I keep having to do this, but here we are again. I could sit up here and probably debunk a lot of the things you people have said, and I just clearly don't have time for that, but if you guys want to confront me afterwards and talk about it, we can. In 1918, San Francisco enacted a mask mandate. The flu rates dropped drastically, and it was revoked too soon, and they saw it rise again. But the government didn't turn from tyranny. They revoked the mandate just like they promised, just like you're promising here. This will address Larry's concern earlier. The University of California stated that if 80% of people wore a mask, that would have a stronger impact on cases than a complete shutdown would. Back when we were shut down, people were forced to stay home, but they went to Walmart without their mask on, without their social distancing, and it still spread. We've recently reached 1,000 deaths a day across our country, which is back what we were in May. if we have 1,000 cases a day here in Missouri, which doesn't seem like a lot compared to some of the other states, but considering our population, it is. That's hundreds of people a day that might have permanent long-term damage to their organs or be hospitalized for it. Most Americans haven't experienced the scientific process and seen it in action. Science has hypotheses, tests. Things are wrong, things get corrected later. That's what we're seeing with the CDC today. It may very well be that their stance is wrong as it is now, and we may see that in the future. We may not. But if they are wrong, if the experts are wrong, the worst we've done is inconvenienced ourselves. If they're right, we've saved countless lives. Jesus said that if you have 100 sheep and one goes missing, do you not leave the 99 sheep to find the one? That's what we're doing here. He said once you find the one sheep, he would call his friends and neighbors and rejoice that he has found his lost sheep. If we even saved one life, should we not rejoice for that? Many places are closing down in St. Louis, Springfield. I work in Ozark, and a man came up to me and said it's hard to find a place to eat in Ozark that has a dining room open anymore. If we don't get a hold on this virus, if we don't do something to protect it, protect people from it,
Your 30 seconds.
we could see another shutdown. By taking measures to try and halt this virus, give us time, we can save ourselves from another shutdown. If you vote yes on it, at least you can say you tried. But if you vote no on it and the government shuts everything down again, then you didn't try. I want you guys to sink that in for a moment. And with that, I will the rest of my time.
Thank you. There is a clock on the other side there. You can kind of keep track of how much time you have. We're down to about 10 minutes.
Is it ready yet?
Your name, address?
I'm not from here. I'm from Galena. However, I spend thousands of dollars in
Ma'am,
Branson.
I'm sorry, the criteria
Well,
are
I'm also running
a
for
resident of
office
Branson
in this area.
or,
So
I'm
if you're
sorry.
not going to allow me to opine, then I want people out there in the public to know that my thousands of dollars that I spend in Branson are no longer welcome.
All right, thank you.
I will be blogging it. Because the tourists and the visitors, the backbone of the
Thank you,
economy
ma'am.
here.
My name is Dr. Bo Bandy. I'm a chiropractor here in Branson. I live on 411 Wilson Street. In order to earn my doctorate, I have taken extensive hours, both class time and clinically, in immunology, microbiology, virology, physiology, and neurology. I have 12 years of experience helping walk people through all types of health concerns. I know what works and I know what doesn't. I know how to help people get their health back naturally. I have been running a private practice here in Branson for 10 years. That is my background, and that's where I'm coming from. Mark Twain once said, "Those who read the newspaper are uninformed, and those who don't read the newspaper, those who read the newspaper are misinformed, and those who don't read the newspaper are uninformed." Unfortunately, when it comes to the news, not much has changed since Mark Twain's days, so let's talk about physiology for a minute. The human immune system is an amazing piece of engineering. It's part of the adaptation process that your body uses for survival. In order for the immune system to work, it has to be exposed to pathogens. You cannot run or hide from a virus. Our bodies are full of bacteria and viruses. They actually help you survive. In fact, you want to be exposed to pathogens so that your body can build immunity. That's how it works. The more cases we have, the better. It means that more people have been exposed, therefore more people are immune. An asymptomatic carrier just means that that person has been exposed and has built immunity. The human body has 4 major ways to detoxify itself. 1 is through the skin, sweating. 2 is through peeing. 3 is through pooping. Yes, I said pooping. And the 4th is through breathing. Most people in this country are not healthy. Can we agree on that? By all standards of measurements, the U.S. consistently scores lower in health than many other developed countries. They don't eat good food, they don't exercise, they don't get adequate sleep, they don't drink enough water. If a person doesn't exercise, they don't sweat. If you don't sweat, you lose a major way that your body has of getting toxins out. If a person doesn't eat good food, then they're not going to have proper digestion. Without that, they will not poop as often as they should. Some unhealthy individuals that I know have told me in my office that they only poop once or twice a week. If you're not pooping, you're not getting rid of toxins. If a person doesn't drink enough water, then their urine will typically be very dark brown or yellow. That means they're not excreting the toxins that they should through their urine. The only way left for that unhealthy person to get rid of those toxins
30 seconds, sir.
is through their breath, through the vapor that comes out of their lungs. And now you want to mandate a mask for that unhealthy person, so now they really can't get rid of any toxins. The toxins that their body's trying to get rid of is now staying on their face, making them sicker and sicker. The number of COVID deaths has continued to go down. Why isn't anyone paying attention to the actual death numbers? All I hear about is rising spike in cases.
Sir, you're out of time. Thank you.
Oops.
Now, please, the topic is on the amendments to this bill. Please. Thank you.
Are you able to hear me? All right. My name is Heather Erickson. I'm a resident of Branson. I also work here in the tourism industry. I see firsthand the exact kinds of people that are coming into our wonderful town.
What is your address, ma'am?
Heather Erickson.
Your address?
By address, I'm a resident of Branson. That's all you need to know, isn't it? That I'm a resident of Branson?
We like, for the record, the public.
If you need to ask me later, please let me know, but I've already wasted 20 seconds. I would like to begin by stating that I'm severely disappointed in the way that the aldermen and our mayor have responded to our current pandemic that is occurring. We were warned months ago by several specialists local to the area, and including today, we are warned in the future, including doctors from our own hospitals, that this was very serious in nature and to do everything in our power to prevent an outbreak in our community. I'm appalled by the cowardice of our leadership to take the necessary precautions to prevent the spread of COVID-19. That being said, we have some options moving forward from here. Nearly 40 people tested positive for COVID-19 in the time between the two reports from July 14th to July 24th, 10 days apart. Now keep in mind there are likely more carriers in the community that have not been tested due to financial concerns or otherwise. I myself did a COVID test. It cost me $167. That's not easy for many people to stomach. I understand. That does bring the question on how many people are carriers that do not know it. I understand that all of you have some form of financial stake in Branson tourism and that this is not only a concern for you, but for all the business owners and workers in Branson. My work, once again, relies on tourists visiting this area just the same as many others. I have bills to pay, mouths to feed. I understand, but there is no reliable evidence that mandating a mask ordinance is going to cause tourism to stagnate or decline, just regardless to some Facebook posts that people have been commenting on. Now, keep in mind, what will cause a decline in tourism, however, is that if the cases continue to rise at the rate they are now, which could deem us a dangerous location to visit. Now, keep in mind, your city website says that you are mandating masks inside of your buildings because you believe that it prevents the spread of COVID-19. Why are you not protecting the people that bring in the thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars into your city? Why are you only protecting the city officials? Of the 11,000 residents of Branson, only a couple hundred are protected? I think that's really silly. Now, keep in mind that those are indicated to be effective enough to keep you guys safe. Now, there are some citizens of Branson that are confused about what rights they have. Some people that don't even know what HIPAA is. There are civil liberties that we give up every single day. Everyone here has a shirt, pants, shoes. That's a dress code. Same thing as the mask. That could be enforced as a dress code. Now, do you consider wearing pants a violation of personal rights? Probably not. Please let me speak. You've had your time. Now, are the aldermen scared of losing money from their own businesses if they implement a mask mandate?
15 seconds.
Yes. Now, keep in mind, I myself am immunocompromised, but I came here because this is so important for me. Thank you for letting me speak today. And I hope that whatever decision you make weighs very heavily on your thoughts.
We really only have about 5 minutes, guys.
I'm Cheyenne McKinney, and I have a Branson license address.
I'm sorry, could you pull the mic down, ma'am? Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? Okay. I am against mandates. I feel like if there is a risk to anything, then all of us should have a choice. It is not fair that we would have to force ourselves to cover up our faces and not be able to breathe, or for any other reason that we might have a condition that makes it to where we cannot wear a face covering. I don't think it's fair that everybody who is worried about us wearing face coverings and thinking that it might help, it could help, but in the end, there's still gonna be a lot of people that are not gonna be wearing face coverings. We cannot sit there and pick and choose who gets to wear a mask and who doesn't, and then just think, oh, well, okay, the lockdown didn't work, so now we're gonna do face coverings because, you know, they told us to. But I am even more concerned about the fact that people who have faith and trust in the CDC and these experts, when they're so wishy-washy, under investigation. Like, I don't trust anybody that would be under investigation. I just feel like, I don't know, I didn't even plan on coming up here to speak, so now I'm just like really nervous. But I just want to say that I don't think it's right if you guys want to force something on us. It's not. There's China. I know for a fact somebody spoke about this before, but China, they've had face coverings mandates since over a decade because of the air pollution, and they were the epicenter of the outbreak. I mean, I don't know how much more common sense it can take for people to understand the multitude of studies out there that specifically speak on the dangers of general use of face coverings in public. When we're in a hospital, they have environments to, I don't know the word. They have environments that we are made to be able to wear the mask, like with the ones that the doctors use, in the environments in the hospitals. We don't have the air quality like that here. We don't have the air quality in the world and the people that are trained on using masks. I mean, even when I went to the hospitals, most doctors do not properly use masks at all. I mean, no, but half the people here are still touching their faces and moving their masks around. I mean, I just had my phone. How many things do you think my phone touched before I come up here, and then touch my face, and then I have my face covering on, and then I'm gonna have to try to take it off. That is all gonna be on my nose and my mouth, and then I'm gonna be hugging somebody. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. 30 seconds, ma'am. I don't understand and have sound evidence it works at all. I can find you so many NCBI studies.gov that even, I'm a college student, I'm getting my bachelor's degree in psychology, even my biology teacher has shared studies proving that vitamin C, vitamin D, melatonin, zinc, iron, all these help prevent this from being deadly.
You're out of time, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
may I ask that we give a little extra time, that Gary would be the last one to speak? That might exceed our time frame a little bit. Up to you.
The last person in line is that gentleman there with a mask on. Anybody else go? Gary Groman. All right, you got 3 minutes, and please on topic, please, please.
Bo Dieger, I live on South Drive in Branson, I live in Ward 1. I want to talk about, first thing I want to talk about the urgency. If it's such an urgency that we need to wear masks to cut down this, for those of you that are considering or why we postpone this, if it was such an urgent demand to be mandating masks, wouldn't we have passed it the first time around? So obviously it's not as urgent as some people claim this to be. So going on from that, secondly, I want to point out that for any of you that are wearing cloth masks, anything like that, obviously I'm not a qualified professional, but nor is a doctor. They don't specialize in masks, they specialize in medicine. So any of you that are wearing cloth masks, it's like, was it containing? It may just be containing your spit droplets, but is that the only way that COVID spreads? If that is the case, then why is not everybody else that's wearing a mask, there's not stop the droplets from entering your mouth, nose area? So as far as that's concerned, you would be required to wear an actual respirator that stops the actual particles that follow other than the droplets themselves. there is just so many reasons why cloth masks don't work, because they don't even contain, if you're wearing socks, they don't contain the smell of your feet. Your t-shirt, yes, it's breathable. So all of your masks, they are breathable, so you get fresh air in, and they're supposed to stop everything else. It's just like a t-shirt. Your t-shirt breathes, but it doesn't hold your body odor in. So that's about as efficient as a t-shirt is as far as a mask is concerned. I don't think it's necessary to mandate, as far as everybody should have their own choice. And the last point that I want to make is how many of you take your mask off when you're in a car or when you're at home? If you coughed or did anything before you went to a store, you carried all those germs into the store that you were just in. So there's no possible way that we can stop all of the germs that are out there to spread this COVID. It's going to be places you can't stop it, and just because of a mask, that you didn't spread it yourself if you have it. If you're asymptomatic, what is everybody terrified about? You're generally not going to die if you're asymptomatic. You just may be a carrier. Secondly, my last point here is how many deaths have we actually had since our last meeting? Does anybody know? We've had 1 death in Branson area since then, so we're up to 4 deaths? Okay. Deaths don't matter? Is that what you said?
You got 17 seconds.
That's all I'll say.
All right.
My name is Yakov Smirnov. It's 480 Highway 248 is the address. I would like to, I know we're short on time, so I'd like to share with you a couple of thoughts. I came to America because of freedom and choice. And what I experienced, I went to Chicago a couple of days ago to celebrate my wife's birthday, and we went there, and we could not wait. We were there for 4 days. We could not wait to get back to Branson for one reason, that they were mandating masks to everybody. So it becomes a police state. You are empowering everyone to become an informer. There was the time when in the Soviet Union, a 13-year-old boy informed on his father because he was hiding food from the authorities, and they executed the father. And that little boy became a hero by Stalin. He made him a role model, and that's what happens to people when they all of a sudden get this power to say, you're wrong because you're not wearing a mask. And coming to Branson, I'm hoping that you can make this an island of freedom and choice in the sea of hatred and fear. People come to this town and they say, well, this is the way America used to be. I think this is the way America ought to be. Thank you.
You want to wipe down the microphone?
I'm not worried about it. I'll wipe it down when I get done. I attended a meeting.
Can we have your name?
Doug Clark, 121A, St. Andrews Street. We attended a meeting at the First Baptist Church last Saturday. The main topic was the rights you have as an American citizen that were granted to you from God. You have the right to liberty, pursuit of happiness, and the government was formed to protect those rights from this kind of overreach. And that's my one statement here that I'd like to say. But the thing is that I brought this up every time I've come up here about this PCR test, okay? The CDC right here.
Sir, we're supposed to be talking on the motion and mask, please.
I'm giving you a reason why you should not vote for it. But there's the CDC paper that states that this test is not accurate. If you read through it, all 50 pages of it. I'm just giving you some sources here. Now, the other thing that bothers me about all this is there's another one here. This is the universal masking in hospitals in the COVID-19 era. This is from the New England Journal of Medicine. And basically,
update on it, sir.
Basically, it says
What date on it?
the masks do not do any good.
What's the date on it, sir?
That is on the May the 21st,
When?
this year.
This year, okay.
New England Journal of Medicine. There it is right there. The reason why that this is being suppressed is because the medical community is censoring the people that really understand what's going on here. And if you don't believe that, you have to look a little deeper, because you can't find it on social media, and our hospital juggernaut over there is not going to tell you some of the other sources that you can go to find treatment for this stuff that actually works 100% of the time without doing any of this stuff. It's absolutely ridiculous what we're doing here. You know, and I've been around Branson for 25 years, and I know a lot of people that work in the theater business here. They're not going to come down here and tell you how they feel about this. The only thing you're going to find out from them is when they close their doors. Because what they're going to do is, if you put this thing on them again, what they're hearing from people that are calling in on the phone saying, do you have a mask ordinance here? Why should I come to Branson if you're going to impose one? Why should I come here when I'm being harassed where I live? You can't expect people to come here when they're going to be harassed again. And, you know, the police may end up getting in this because you do have a fine here. That doesn't work either. Just what Mr. Smirnoff said.
You got 30 seconds, sir.
That's about it. Whoops, I think I destroyed the microphone.
Thank you for cleaning it off.
I think I tore it up. There we go. Anyway.
My name's Gary Groman. I live at 350 South Wildwood Drive, apartment D10. I'm not going to try to impress you guys. You know I'm not the brightest light bulb on the Christmas tree. What I know well. What I don't know is a lot more than what I know. I've heard a lot of arguments about a lot of things, but to me, pure and simply, this is a health and economic issue. That's what it is to me. And if I have a problem with my TV or my plumbing, I go to a plumber. I go to TV. If I have a problem with health, I go to medical experts, and I can tell you in the last year and a half, I've spent more time in a hospital than I have in the first 79 years of my life. And quite frankly, if it wasn't for Cox, I know most of you wish they weren't as efficient as they are. I probably wouldn't be here talking to you right now, but they did a good job on me. So when it comes to a health issue, I'm going to rely on the health experts. I personally believe, and what I'm saying today is based on that belief, I believe in masking. I believe it can help spread COVID. Now, that's my personal belief. I respect your personal belief. The other thing is we've developed a lot of knowledge between now and when this thing first started. I have a responsibility. I know what I have to do to protect myself and my wife. I wear a mask most of the time. If I elect not to wear a mask or I elect not to social distance, that's on me, not on anybody else. The economy. My belief, and you can disagree with this, my belief is initially there was some conflicting stuff on masking, I understand, but a lot of stuff developed early. And people keep saying, well, go to Silver Dollar City, look what's happened to them. Yes, I can look at what's happened to them. They've adopted the same basic philosophy and rule that the rest of the amusement parks throughout the nation have adopted. I would respectfully suggest that the trend now is more towards masking. People are becoming more accustomed to masking. And the question, I think, one of the questions you all have to ask is, hey, is there a possibility that if we pass masking, we might get more people than if we don't pass masking? That's just, it's one way or the other. And that's all I want to leave you with. Thank you very much.
Thank you. At this point in time, any alderman who would like to speak?
I do.
All right. Mr. Milton.
First off, I want to thank everybody over these past month or so, especially this past month, for taking your time and reaching out to the alderman, the mayor, city staff and sharing your opinions. It's my belief that we do work for you and we make better decisions with your input. So thank you. Also, before I start giving my opinions, I want to apologize. At the last meeting we had, I was so shocked over the statistics about the number of deaths, the death rates falling, that apparently I put a lot of emphasis on only so many deaths. Had several people write, and I apologize. I firmly believe every life does matter. I was excited to see that the number of deaths has dropped like it did. I do support wearing masks. I think they are effective, but I think the intent of the mask is to slow the spread, not stop the spread, right? All the arguments out there, they're too porous, things get through, things stay in, blah, blah, blah. I think the intent of the masks are to slow down the larger particles, not every particle that comes out. Regarding the constitutional concerns, I've checked and I'm convinced that our laws and HIPAA are very clear that the bill that's in front of us we don't violate any laws. I know what the feelings are that your personal freedoms are taken away. I just don't think the Constitution supports that. I do believe there needs to be much more education. The proper wearing of masks, the touching, washing. I mean, seriously, think about the people you hang around with and what they do with their masks, right? I mean, there are people that wear a mask to work. They get out of work, they put their mask in their car, they go to work the next day, pick up the mask, they put it on, right? I mean, they need to be washed. I mean, there's a lot to be done. So I think education is missing to make the mask more effective. We have enforcement issues in this bill. Somebody mentioned earlier that the major retailers are backing down from enforcing the mask mandate, including Walmart, right? And they're doing that because of the conflicts that's creating. I've read a lot on the CDC website. I've talked with many individuals and businesses. Many have different thoughts and feelings. Business owners have shared the comments that they receive from their visitors with me. Jerry Henry's report, I believe, clearly states those that are pro-mask and are pro-mask tend not to travel. Those that are not pro-mask mandates tend to travel. And I know Gary Groman mentioned Silver Dollar City. I do not have any insight on Silver Dollar City's numbers. I have a few people that talk to me about those numbers, and I believe that we can have all the hypothesis in the world, all the opinions in the world, but based on facts, Silver Dollar City is not doing well economically since they've started mandating masks. I think that, I mean, if I had any evidence against that, I would love to hear it, but I have a pretty good source. And when I say they're down 60, 70%. I want to say this again. Silver Dollar City mandates masks, and they are down 60 to 70%. Silver Dollar City is a major driver to Branson, Missouri, right? I think the chamber says roughly a third of the business that comes to Branson is generated from Silver Dollar City. So I think that's a perfect factual case for us to look at. You can think, well, more people will come if we do have mask mandates. Maybe they won't. Well, Silver Dollar City, I mean, facts are facts.
Mr. Milton, could I ask you, you started off by saying you didn't have any information on Silver Dollar City, and now you're quoting information on Silver Dollar City. Do you have a legitimate source for your information?
Mayor, I don't think you can challenge me with those. I'm giving opinions.
Okay, but don't give it as fact then.
Now hear this, now hear this. This is Larry Milton's opinions only. You okay with that?
That's clear.
Your mayor, I'll tell you.
Point of order, Mayor.
Point of order, sir. You're not in the meeting. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Just keep order.
So where was I? I believe Silver Dollar City numbers are way down. I believe Silver Dollar City is a major traffic generator for Branson, Missouri. I believe that if Branson follows the same mask mandate, it's reasonable to assume Branson will receive the same fate. I think those are reasonable statements. Mayor. Our local businesses do not want another shutdown. The vast majority of our business owners take this very seriously. There's always going to be the exceptions out there, right? Whether we have a mandate or not, that are going to do what they're going to do. The bill we're looking at is very watered down. So whether the bill passes or not, I'm not as concerned about the effects of the COVID in our community. What I'm more concerned about is the headlines. If Branson passes this, the headline is going to read, Branson passes mask mandate, period. It's not going to say Branson passed a watered-down mask mandate. It's not going to say Branson passed a mandate where businesses and residents have choices. It's clearly going to say Branson passed mask mandate. Probably one of my biggest concerns of this watered-down bill passing is the headlines. And I think the headline alone is going to have a negative economic impact on Branson. And let's think about the consequences of this bill passing. If we have a dramatic reduction in visitors, what that does to our businesses will either close or have reduced staff. Employees are going to be laid off. I think there's so many consequences to voting yes on this bill. If we have a lot of workers laid off or fired because there's no business, are we going to increase our homeless problem? Is there going to be mental health issues? Is there going to be more suicides? So I'm trying to weigh the pros and cons with this bill versus if it doesn't pass, or excuse me, if it does pass, the additional consequences that are going to come along with it. I'm going to pause for a minute and read a letter that was sent out from Mayor Tate to every Hollister resident, sent out 2,000 of these. And what I want you to hear, and obviously we're not Hollister, we don't do what other cities do, but this one struck me as what our neighboring community, the message they put out, and this was dated July 20th. It says, on March 20th, 2020, the city of Hollister formally joined a broad cross-section of our nation and the world in the campaign to slow the spread of COVID-19. As a community, elected officials and staff, standing alongside business owners and residents, have forged a relationship that has been and still is the element that determines and implements Hollister's response protocol. Our goal remains to keep our community and guests safe and engaged. The challenge is to achieve that goal in its fullest, meaning not only physically health and safe, but also financially health and safe, emotionally healthy and safe, and do this in such a manner as to respect individual freedoms and rights. The ability to achieve this goal and ultimately prevail in overcoming this challenge is to stick together in a cohesive community, collectively striving to meet and overcome weaknesses that permit the virus to spread. We have witnessed the disintegration of that oneness of effort and the division that places individuals, businesses, and government at odds with each other. When that happens, the virus wins. So let's examine where we've been then, and more important, where we're going. For the first 6 to 8 weeks, we did a good job of slowing the spread and meeting the physical health of our community. But in many cases, this was at the expense of the financial and emotional health of our community. As we moved to ease restrictions and start to address the total needs of our community, we saw people starting to return to a more pre-COVID lifestyle, leisure travelers from around the country returning to our area, and the erosion of the safety protocols that had been in place. The virus has zero tolerance and thus took advantage of a weakness and returned with an even greater frequency, the result of which has been more human suffering and stepped up urgency for immediate action from the healthcare and other concerned sectors of our community. So let's examine where we're going. Your City Hollister community is convinced that your physical health and your financial and emotional health are not mutually exclusive. We can achieve our total goal, but it will take community-level commitment and cooperation. Here's how. Hand washing and other sanitizing protocols need to be the routine, top-of-mind task, embedded in your everyday life and passed along to your family and work groups. This is not only an at-home task, this is an at-work task and an everywhere task. Physical distancing is imperative. Whenever practical, stay out of the range of danger. Be respectful of those around you who are trying to keep you healthy and return the favor. Personal respect for each other is a fundamental expectation in our community. Finally, face coverings have become a point of conflict to the point that laws are being passed to prosecute those who disregard individual cooperation. Properly used face coverings are another tool to lessen the chance for person-to-person transmission of the virus. We are not asking you to cover because you are compelled to by law, but because you are compelled to out of the personal respect of the people around you. As a mayor of your community, I'm asking for your commitment and cooperation in demonstrating the respect for those around you and those that you depend on for support to strive to achieve our goal of total health for our community. Prove to those who are uncertain that collective personal responsibility and determination is very powerful and has the potential to prevail in our fight for our community's future total health. Signed, David Tate, Mayor. So I wanted to share that because that's one of our neighboring communities, and they're taking an approach of being responsible, taking responsibility. I know for a fact, because I've talked to them and I've been there, that a lot of our businesses are really taking this seriously. To mandate, especially the way this bill's written, I just can't see it. After careful and thoughtful consideration of the comments and the facts, I cannot support this bill. I am voting for the will of the people. At our previous meeting, the majority were against the bill. The emails that I receive, the majority are against the bill. The phone calls I receive, the majority are against the bill. The meetings that I've attended with others, the majority were against the bill. And then at today's crowd, the majority are against the bill. So I will be voting no. I reserve the right to change my opinion as new facts are presented. I wanted to go through, and I didn't bring them, so these are going to be rough. Here's something that I'm influenced by. Let's look at the timeline. On or about March 28th, this Board of Aldermen mandated essential businesses, non-essential businesses must be closed, right? And that was March 28th, give or take. April 3rd, we had our first death due to COVID. I don't have the date, but I think it was the beginning of May, we had our second death in Taney County. May 4th, Governor Parsons and the city went to recommendations. We recommended face masks, we recommended social distancing. In June, we had 0 deaths in Taney County. July 9th, we had our 3rd reported death. Today's July 28th. So over 4 months, we've had 3 deaths due to COVID. During any 4-month period in Taney County, how many times has Taney County had 3 deaths from car accidents, heart attacks, right? All the different reasons that cause death. So I would seriously ask this board to consider what the headline news is going to do for our community. Thank you.
Any other alderman wishing to make a statement? Okay. Call for a vote on the bill as amended.
No,
Aren't we just voting
we're
on the
on,
amendment?
we're on the motion for the amendments.
Yes, Mayor, if I may, we have spent over an hour talking about a motion for an amendment. The amendment had basically 3 things in it: changing the date it began, the date it ended, and basically something that would allow people in theaters to wear a mask into the theater, but then not to have to wear the mask if they were socially distanced during the entire performance. Those were the 3 things on this amendment. Fairly insignificant, and yet we spent an hour and a half speaking on this amendment in which no one mentioned the amendments, not a one. So I hope we can get on with this vote and get to the bill as amended.
Please vote on the amendment.
We have to revote, Bud?
Yeah, I have 2 responses, Mayor. If everyone could please register their votes one more time.
Have to vote again?
Yes, please. Oh, there we go.
4 yes, 1 no. Passes. The votes are Milton, no; Whitish, yes; Say, yes; Skanes, yes; Simmons, yes. Now, at this time, additional amendments to this bill can be made. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak to the bill as amended? You need to take a 5-minute break? Sorry, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We're at the point where we are now asking people if they wish to speak regarding the bill as amended. Again, the guidelines are if you're a resident in the city limits of Branson, if you're a property taxpayer in Branson, 3-minute time frame, and if you spoke earlier, this is the same bill, so you don't get to speak again, only one time. Same bill. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding the bill as amended? Yes.
Sir, I did speak earlier, but
Yes,
the bill hasn't been amended since then, and so it is actually a different bill.
No,
My name is Pearl Haining, and I do live in Branson, and I have opinions on the bill as amended. And this...
And I'm going to ask you all to keep it to that amendment.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Okay.
The change has been added that we no longer have to be consuming choking hazards in order to take our masks off. And I suppose that change was added in the hopes that it would make this bill more pleasing or appetizing, if you will, to our audiences and to our business owners. Yakov Smirnov, one of the most prominent and long-standing entertainers in our town, is clearly against that bill as amended. And I think that speaks volumes about what it will do for our city. And I do want to reference a poll by Yahoo News asking nationwide if a mask mandate was preferred. 80% said no. Over a 3-week period, 80% of Americans said no. They do not want a mask mandate. And if we are relying on those Americans to come to our town and support the families and individuals that live here, do not think for a minute that adding any amendments to any form of a mask mandate will attract them. And I do want to suggest...
Do you have a date on when that poll was taken?
That poll began being taken on July 10th and is still active today at 80% against.
And this is a Facebook-type poll?
No, sir. This is an official poll by Yahoo News.
Yahoo News, okay.
Now, I do want to suggest an amendment, if you will, please. I appreciate that you have added the word please to the proposed signage, but I would like to suggest a complete revision of that sign. Quote, "Please stop. We, Branson, literally don't want your business unless your mouth and nose are covered. Even if you think you're in perfect health, our city council thinks you're lying, and there are 6/100ths of 1% of a chance that we could catch a very specific virus from you. However, if you are really convinced of your health, we might make an exception for you if you can prove you have a different extremely serious health problem. But really, we are grossed out and afraid at the thought of you coming in. Please go away. I suggest you make those changes. Thank you."
I love accessories, but this mask thing I'm not so sure about. My name is Dirk Myers. I live at 118 West Hensley Street in Branson. I also own Service with the Style Photography and Dirk D. Myers Photography, Service with the Style Consulting and Dirk D. Myers Photography. I also wait tables on the side a little bit because I've been trying to get my other businesses off the ground. What I'm trying to get at, because I know that you want me to get to the point, the CARES Act is ending as of last week. The people who were getting unemployment partially or completely are not going to get that benefit anymore. If you have a mask mandate that you put in place today, and Branson goes the way of Silver Dollar City. Which one of you gentlemen that voted yes is going to take care of all of these people who had their hours reduced again? You do not have the ability to give us more money. Today, you have the ability to take money away from our families. I just want you to know that there are a lot of people who really care about this city and care about the people who visit it. We've gone to great lengths to make sure that things are clean, to make sure that we're walking by people. And show of hands, how many of you, if you're not wearing a mask, give people that are walking down the way social distance? You didn't have to do that for us. We're already taking care of it. Do us a favor. Trust us. We trusted you. But I guarantee you, if you vote yes today, every one of us that is voting is going to remember you, and we're going to remember you, and we'll remember you, and you, and you, and you. Please do the right thing today and vote no, because we have this. Thank you.
Again, we're speaking to the motion and the amendments to that motion.
For the record, my name is Patrick C. Kansoer, and I'll spell that for the clerk, Kansoer, Senior. I have a place of business in the Ozark Craft Mall on 76. I live in Hollister, but I
Sir,
have
do you pay property taxes in Branson?
I do not pay property taxes in Branson. I have a business presence in Branson.
Sir, that's our guideline.
Are you going to muzzle me, Your Honor? If you are, I will leave the podium.
Yeah. No, I gave the guidelines before we started, and those are the guidelines. Thank you.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Obviously, you want to muzzle somebody who has something to say. All I will say is this in passing, okay? If you pass this thing, you are saying to over 8 million people who come here that Branson is a pest hole of a virus and don't come. If that's what you want to be known for, if you want to preside over the death of a beautiful place, vote yes. Otherwise, vote no.
Sir, some people, you have to be signed up, you want to get in line to talk. You don't talk from the audience, please.
If I may, please, I'm here to read for Nathan Horstman, who could not be here today.
You have to
Is that allowed?
I'm sorry, ma'am, you have to state who you are and your address.
That's fine. My name is Anna Stilevsky. My address is 220 West Pacific Street, Branson. Okay, and I'm reading on behalf of Nathan Horstman, who couldn't be here today. Okay. The lifeblood of this community are the 12,000 residents that live in it year-round and call it their home. And first and foremost, it is they who must be protected. That's all of you and me. The silent majority are depending on you to get this done so we can move forward and try to figure out how we are going to move forward into the fall season. As we all know, the vast majority of the tourists that come in the fall are the most susceptible to this virus, and I'd bet a good sum they won't feel safe coming here if Branson doesn't enact measures to protect them as well, such as this mask mandate. We heard from our own medical health professionals like Sean Ussery, who was literally unappallingly heckled while informing this board about this virus and the effect it is having and will continue to have on our local healthcare system if we do not start wearing masks. We also heard from Mr. Mahoney, the president of Cox Branson, who also laid out for us facts along with his professional opinion regarding masking and why it is so important. Why anyone would not listen to these men is beyond me. Taney County Health Department is overwhelmed. They are working tirelessly around the clock trying to keep up with the numbers of cases coming in. We have to lend them a hand and help them any way we can, along with our doctors and nurses who are also working tirelessly around the clock. But most importantly, we need to do this for the residents of this community. We can benefit all of us by instituting a mask ordinance now. Let's give it a try and see where we are in a month. It is literally the least we can do. We need to set aside the differences for the greater good of the people of this community and all do our part to slow the spread of this virus. Branson has always prided itself as a safe, fun, family-friendly place to visit. That's not what I'm seeing here today, nor at the last meeting. Let's figure out a way to roll this out and all get on board and do our best to encourage tourists so that they can feel safe coming here. We can promote Branson as a mask-friendly place where people of all ages can continue to come and have a good time and wear a mask until we get this virus under control. I would venture a guess that there are a lot more people that would come here knowing that we are doing our level best to keep them safe. Many businesses around here have taken it upon themselves, either at the corporate level or the local level, and have already made it their policy to wear a mask if one chooses to enter their doors. They all should be applauded for doing so. I wish we didn't have to mandate this thing, but it's apparent that some people's minds unfortunately need to be made up for them. I trust this board will make the right decision today because I know that you are reasonable, rational thinking individuals, and I am confident that no matter how tough the decision, I am confident that no matter how tough the decision, I believe in my heart that you will do the right thing for this community. I have faith in you. You got this. Thank you, Mayor and members of the board, for allowing me this time to speak today, and thanks to Anna for being my voice today. So in closing, I would like to add, I love all of you guys here in Branson. Whether you agree with me or not, I want you all to be safe. It hurts to see that there has been even one death. We can prevent this. It's a piece of cloth. That's it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
My name's Anne Marie Stone. I'm at 131 Dove Court here in Branson. I work at Walmart, and every day I see people coming in and out. I talk to customers every single day. I see their reaction to the mask. I see how people are struggling to breathe. I see the ridicule all the time that's going on from people who wear masks to those who are not wearing masks. The condemnation is outrageous. Every single day, people are dealing with the stress of this mask. Every day. This is not just once in a while. This is an everyday thing. We're talking about mental health issues that are coming about just because of this mask. People are coming against each other. They're divided. They're angry. They're stressed. And now we're getting to a point where, well, we've already gotten to points at some place like at Forsyth, they're fining people. We're having enough struggle financially, and you want to put fines on people now because they're not obeying something that is proven not to help. You had enough medical information to show you the mask will not stop COVID. It cannot. If you put a mask on and you can blow a candle out, then I can tell you this mask is not going to stop the COVID. Now let's get smart here. I've really been so tired of the stupidity, of the fear-mongering of putting a mask on. The mask will not save anybody, and that is a proven fact medically, and it cannot be denied. Enough people are running around in fear right now because leaders are telling them that they have to be in fear and put a mask on. This is harming not only Branson, but the whole country. At large is in fear. People are moving out of places like California and other places to Branson. I hear this all the time at Walmart. The customers do talk. I have to stand out front counting people that are coming into the store for no reason. No reason at all. There is no reason for me to count. But I'm being made to. I need to stand out in the sun wearing one of these masks that you can't breathe out in the 90-degree temperatures with the humidity up to 65 degrees. Where's the intelligence in that? Where is my health being considered? Because it's not. That's all I have to say.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Colton Schmidt. I live at the Preserve Apartment Complex off of Green Mountain Drive. I am against this ordinance as it was proposed and amended entirely. I'm presenting a few statistics real quick. Conveniently, there was no Taney County Health Department update that has been saved as of the last meeting on the 16th, so my stats are from the following day on the 17th for that day. As of that meeting, or as of the 17th, there were 146 cases and 3 deaths. As of the meeting today, the Taney County Health Department updated this at 2 p.m., 260 cases and 4 deaths. That case amount increase is 114 cases, and the death increase is 1. That's a 78% case increase, yes. And the death to case ratio from the 17th was 2%. The death to case ratio today is 1.5%. That death to case ratio from the 17th to today, 114 cases and 1 death, is 0.08. Now, that being said, the thing that we're hearing is that it sits around 2%. Well, if that's the case, then if we had 114 cases in the past 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever it is, we should have seen 2 1/3 deaths rather than just 1. That to me says that the citizens of Branson, the business owners, the visitors, everyone in Branson is doing their part without having to be mandated to wear a mask, without having to do any of that. We are doing our job, and the numbers, the deaths are going down. That's what we're all really afraid about, is the deaths. Cases kind of are good because people are being exposed. They grow antibodies. That helps us prevent dying. I, once again, speaking on behalf of plenty of businesses, plenty of citizens, plenty of visitors of Branson, urge you to vote no. I just presented the statistics. Those are facts that have been provided to us by the county. Vote no. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Branson, and God bless America.
Thank you. Clay, before you get started, is there anyone else in line? Because if there's not, the last person here. Is there anyone else in line? Okay, Clay, you're the last one.
Okay, all right. Clay Cooper Theater, 3216 West Highway.
You can take your mask off.
Oh, yeah.
If you like.
3216 West 76 Country Boulevard. Been in Branson for 34 years, moved here when I was 16 to live a dream of playing country music in Branson, Missouri, and turned out to be a lifelong career. My wife and I, and my boys perform. We have 95 employees that work for us, and we're running, well, first of all, on the Walmart thing, you know, they require masks now. I was in there the other day and decided to take pictures of everyone that's wearing masks incorrectly, and I got about 30 pictures, and I'll just give you some examples. This is one, and then this is one right here, and then this was the other one. So the problem with it is I believe it's given those people a false sense of security that they don't need to social distance because they're protected with their, you know, and then they get up in people's grill and stuff, and they're not really protected because they're not wearing it right. We're running 50% to 60% down. We have a $23,000 a month mortgage. Electric bill's about $8,000 a month. 95 employees, so 50 to 60% down is, I don't even know how we're still open, to be honest. So when I look out into a crowd of 200, 250 people, I see 8 people with a mask. One night it was 10. The other night it was 12. So, you know, out of 250 people a night, which we're running right now, average of 8 to 10 people are wearing masks. So what that tells me is the 50% that are coming are not wearing masks. The 50% that are coming are not wearing masks. The 50% that are staying home are maybe they're high risk. They don't want to wear a mask, so they're not coming. So in my mind, if we mandate this mask mandate, I see an additional 30, 35%, maybe more of those 50% I'm getting now not coming, because I hear it every night in the line. You know, it feels good to get away from, we live in Illinois, it feels good to get here and feel like I can make my own choices and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I am hearing that. I mean, I know you guys have heard that, but it is true. I hear it every single night. Thank you for letting us, you know, make our choice. And I'm not a constitutional carrying in my back pocket. I do believe in having that choice. But another instance is we have an employee that contracted the virus, never left the home without a mask on or gloves from day one. And now this employee is just mind-boggled and can't believe, how did I catch this? I've been so careful. So that questions my, you know, that questions how does the mask protect you? So I got 5 seconds, I'll just wrap it up. You know, for my family, for my business, for my 95 employees and their families, I'm asking to a no vote, and because if we do mandate this, I believe that we won't have to worry about the virus, because there won't be any damn people left to spread the virus. You know what I'm saying? Thank you.
We're at the point where we're ready to vote on the amendment. Is that correct?
No, Your Honor, we're at the point to vote on the final reading of the bill as amended.
Yeah.
We need 4 votes for it to pass, and there's no more voting once this is done.
Well, the alderman after the public speaking time always have time for all comments. So, Mr. Skanes?
Yes. We're in unprecedented times. I grew up listening and got to meet a man when I was 10 years old, flew into Little Rock Air Force Base to dedicate the McClellan Current Navigation System. And he gave a speech to us at the time, the 5th grade, because my father was first sergeant of the flight line. It was ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. At the same time, ask not what other folks can do for you. What can you do to help them? I heard some things today that really concern me, and I call them selfish. At the same time, I listened to Clay, and I understand exactly what he's talking about. The first goal of an alderman is the health and welfare and safety of our citizens. It is the #1 concern. Dirk, knock it off, please. It is our first goal. I listen to the people with the hospitals and what I'm concerned about. That we want to educate our children, but we don't want to listen to the educated. This is neither police state or Yellow Star referring to the Jewish concentration camps. One of the most disgusting things that I've ever heard was to throw out that idea of the star, and we're in this. It's the same thing. It is not.
Please, we're here to listen.
This is not a liberal or conservative issue. We found out that a senator out of Arkansas came up and spent some time in Branson 2 weeks ago, went back home. I believe he's in intensive care. He's got COVID-19 and he has pneumonia, and he has turned around and restated his position. He no longer thinks this is a hoax. He no longer thinks this is an issue that you can't take action on. He asked the people of the state of Arkansas and others to listen to what the hospital folks were saying. The president has stated that it is a patriotic thing to do after avoiding it for almost a month.
Please, if
national
you can't listen, I'm sorry. Do the courtesy of not being rude, get up and leave if you can't listen. Please.
His national security advisor has come down with it. There are people all over the United States that has this, and those in areas where this has been mandated and it's not been mandated. If you have a problem with your heart, you go see a doctor with the kidneys or vision or dental or cancer, but you can't listen to the medical professionals once it comes to COVID. Why? Because they've heard it on TV or Facebook or whatever else, and it's some of the most off-the-wall stuff you'll ever read. But you need to be listening to the medical professionals. I'm worried about the violence, and there is a class that I took my freshman year in college. It's called Uncivil Disobedience. And I'm starting to see it. Just because you disagree with a particular way of thinking that you disagree.
Please,
I call.
if you can't be quiet, then I'm going to ask you to leave. Please leave, sir.
Remove him. This is a legal form of government. Legal.
Please leave, ma'am.
Sir, I was
Please leave, ma'am.
Sir, I was standing.
Please leave, ma'am.
And I was ignored.
Please leave, ma'am.
Evidence was ignored. I'm here for the silent majority that apparently you all do not.
Please leave, ma'am.
Yes, sir. I respect you, officer. I respect you.
On May 29th of 2020, the Supreme Court of the United States in South Bay United Pentecostal Church versus Gavin Newsom, Governor of California, Justice Roberts wrote an opinion and stated that our Constitution principally entrusts the safety and health of the people to the politically accounting officials of the United States to guard and protect. Jacobson versus Massachusetts, 197 U.S. 1138, 1905. When those officials undertake to act in areas fraught with medical and scientific uncertainties, their latitude must be especially broad. Marshall versus the United States, 414 U.S. 417, 427, 1974, where those broad limits are not exceeded, they should not be subjected to second guessing by unelected, which lacks the background, competence, expertise to assess public health and is not accountable to the people. See Garcia versus San Antonio Metropolitan Transit Authority as well. The Supreme Court has spoken on this. The issue is specifically, and I want to take it back to what guides me, because I've listened to you. I sat with Clay, I respect him. I've listened to Brian, I respect him. Sometimes I respect Dirk, sometimes he respects me, but I listen to him. 79-380 of the Missouri statutes was very, very clear, and it should be a guiding factor for all of us in here, which states the Board of Aldermen may take regulations, pass ordinances for the prevention and the introduction of contagious diseases in the city and for the abatement of the same, and may make quarantine laws and enforce the same. It may also make regulations to secure the general health of the city. Why? They saw something back in 1918 and 17 that scared them so bad, it's carried forward to us right now. For 100 years, they've given this ability to do this. So the folks say that we don't have the ability to do it, we do. We do have the ability. The Supreme Court has said that. There'll be other courts ruling on this issue. I wish that I could have heard more from Lisa about where we are in the situation now. I feel that we should work to protect each other resoundingly. I appreciate that folks wear them, whether you have a mandate or not. Is this a hoax? No. There's 22 to 23 states with such laws. It's getting to be out of control in places, guys. It just hadn't hit us here yet. That's what I'm scared of. It hasn't hit us here yet. Not like you expect it's going to, or that, I didn't say that right. We haven't experienced it yet. It is coming, and it's coming like a freight train. Mayor, I will be voting for this particular issue.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons?
Thank you. And certainly I won't repeat anything Bill has said here because he said it quite well. I also won't repeat anything that Alderman Milton said earlier because he said that quite well. So it's a shame to me that we can't trust our government. We can't trust the World Health Organization. We can't trust the CDC. And that's come about in politics, over the last few years. And that's a real shame. But Going beyond that, that means that I have to personally drop back to local people that I know, local people that I trust. I was very disappointed at the previous meeting where we had people stand up and call the doctor a liar and shake their fist at him. That's totally unacceptable. Mr. Mahoney, I sat on the hospital board for 27 years, the entire time that Mr. Mahoney was up until 2015 when I went off. So I know Mr. Mahoney in a professional and business setting. There's not a more honorable man than I know anywhere. I've sat in board meetings to listen to him. I've disagreed with him. I've listened to his answers, and I've come over to his side because he always had something to back what he said. He was doing it for a reason. So I can't buy that Mr. Mahoney is standing up here and lying to us, that there's no backing for that at all. And if you know him, I think you understand that. Mr. Edwards out of Springfield, Cox Hospital has dedicated an entire floor to this, and a lot of the cases are going there. That's why we don't have so many in our hospital here. I trust these people. I know them. And if the federal government was really all that trustworthy to everyone, I would listen more to them, but I listen more to my local people than I do to that. Now, economically, I don't know whether this is going to hurt us or not, but I suspect that there's some truth, at least in the short run, that is true. And in the long run, if you don't make it to the long run, it doesn't make any difference. I fully understand that. But if we do this right, and if we can slow this down here, then we can prevent having to shut down or clamp down in the future, be it 1 month or 5 months or whatever it is. We don't know. St. Louis County, I understand just this morning, it was in the news, that they've got back down to 25% occupancy. That pretty well, and a maximum gathering of 50 people. So that pretty well eliminates theaters and most of our entertainment industry if we had to do that. And they did it this morning. After loosening up previously, they've come back down to that. So I'm pretty afraid in the long run for this community that if we don't do our duty here, even though it's not popular, and even though you're not going to vote for me again, I don't even know that you voted for me the first time, but I'm not up here to get votes. That's not the reason I sit here in the first place, not the reason I'm here. I'm tasked with doing my job while I'm here. So I will be voting for this ordinance as amended, and I think it's the right thing to do for all of us in the long run economically, and we do what we can to help in the short run. Thank you.
Any other alderman wishing to speak?
I'll go here.
Jeff?
Yeah. So obviously I'm going to present the flip side of the coin. There's two silent majorities here that speak for this. And a lot of the feedback I get is, the sky's not falling, that these people that you mentioned maybe not be coming here, Clay, because they're vulnerable, they don't want to get out. The way I hear it and see it, a lot of them are waiting to come after we mandate masks. And I can't name percentages. I can't put a finger on it. A lot of you guys have spoke about, Dirk, we've got this, and right. So it's tough for me to hang my hat on that because you're acting as if you've talked to everybody in this town who works here, lives here, and a lot of them have done that, and say that the community is behind us. It's the will of the people. Well, there's another half that has a will also. So speaking for them, I mean, we discount the deaths, and I believe I don't know if she works in Branson or not, but Michaela Shriver. And I'll paraphrase what she said. She contracted it, and I know that one gentleman talked about the consequences of mental health and things that could happen. Well, she basically said, her fear and her stress was she may have already infected somebody who wouldn't be able to fight it off as well as she could. She had the guilt. She infected her husband. She has generational people in her home that have MS and they have cancer. So nobody talks about the long-term effects of people getting this virus. And yeah, most of them will probably recover, but the ones that don't, we have to consider those people. So you guys can downplay the deaths, but it's the numbers rise, the more people have the opportunity to have long-term implications from this. So, and she went on to say that, you know, this is something as a healthcare professional, she never even factored into the mental aspects of this, not only the long-term consequences. So, other comments that I've got were, I've sat in 2 meetings and was told that they wanted the headline to be, "Come to Branson, we're a sanctuary city." Is that about right? Is that what you guys want as far as anti-maskers? So I don't know, is that a conservative view or is that a, you know, a radical left view of sanctuary cities?
Please. Please, please. Please. Yeah.
Well, it was rhetorical.
Rhetorical.
It was rhetorical. So basically, the headline would read, to the 7 million people, or whatever the number you want to say is, that potentially will come to Branson, is, our headline is, we're a sanctuary city, the last bastion of liberty and freedom. Leave the hot spots in St. Louis and bring your stuff here. Pack your bags and bring it along with you. I mean, that's 7 million people. That's not how many's going to come, but we're asking them to come here. So we're going to give them sanctuary to bring it from where they are to here. And that just, to me, doesn't register. So, you know, there's a lot of people that will not come unless we do this. We're not going to please everybody. It's a 50-50 thing. We just have to choose who we want to please. So, you know, again, with the doctors, I'm going to listen to them. If something happens to me or my family members, these are going to be people that are going to treat us and, you know, possibly save our lives. So you have to put some weight into what they say. And yes, the way they were treated was pretty bad. Pretty bad look for Branson. So I could go on and on and on, but I'll be voting yes on this also.
Any other comments? Yes.
I just want to say that this has a limited period on it, so we need to give it a try. It's our position in this city that we were appointed, and we need to care for the citizens of our city, and this is to do that. So I'm voting for this.
All right, it seems like that I call for the vote as on the bill as amended. Please vote. Yes, 4, no, 1. Larry Milton, no. Jamie Whitish, yes. Jeff Say, yes. Bill Skanes, yes. Bob Simmons, yes. The yeses have it. Bill passed.
We need a motion to adjourn, is that where we are?
We're to the point where it's for a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, I make the motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call for a vote. Please vote. Yes, 5. Adjourned. Meeting adjourned. Thank you for coming.